Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when your heart is so open, so full of love, that you find yourself wanting to help everyone. You want to heal, to fix, to lift others from their pain. You listen when no one else does. You give when you barely have anything left. You become the light for others, but slowly, that same light begins to fade within you. You start to wonder, how can something so beautiful as helping others make me feel so empty inside? The truth is, in your kindness, you may have forgotten one essential thing. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot save others while drowning yourself. Compassion is not self-destruction. It is balance. It is knowing when to give and when to protect your peace. The teachings remind us that true compassion is like a flame. It lights another candle without losing its own brightness. But if you keep burning for everyone, without rest, without care, the flame goes out, and when it does, the world loses your warmth. There is a difference between helping and sacrificing your soul. Sometimes, people take your kindness as an invitation to unload all their pain onto you. Sometimes, they expect you to carry what is not yours to carry. You must understand that you are not responsible for healing everyone. You are responsible only for your own mind, your own heart, your own path. You can love someone deeply and still say no. You can care without losing yourself. Setting boundaries does not mean you are unkind. It means you are wise. When you start feeling drained, heavy, or unseen, that is not selfishness speaking. It is your soul whispering, "Remember me." Helping others should not mean forgetting who you are. Take time to return to your stillness, to breathe, to sit in silence. Let the noise of others fade until you can hear your own voice again. Because that voice, that inner calm, is where your real strength lies. Helping others from a place of peace is powerful. Helping from emptiness is dangerous. So choose wisely. Be kind, but not blind. Be giving, but not lost. The most beautiful gift you can offer the world is not your exhaustion. It's your wholeness. When you care for yourself, you teach others how to rise without falling apart. You show them what true compassion looks like. Steady, bright, and peaceful. And that is how you help others, without ever losing yourself. Balance is the foundation of every meaningful act of compassion. When we talk about helping others, the word balance often gets overlooked, as if kindness must always mean giving endlessly. But in truth, real compassion cannot exist without self-care. If your own heart is hurting, if your mind is restless, if your spirit feels drained, your acts of kindness begin to lose their depth and purity. Helping others should never mean neglecting yourself, because when you are empty, you can only offer fragments, not fullness. In life, we are taught that goodness comes from selflessness, from putting others before ourselves. While this teaching carries a noble message, it is often misunderstood. Selflessness doesn't mean self-erasure. It doesn't mean ignoring your own needs, your own emotions, or your own peace. When you constantly give without restoring yourself, you are not being virtuous. You are silently breaking down. The river that nourishes the land must first be full of water. When it dries out, everything it touches withers. the same is true for your spirit. You cannot be a source of healing if you are not whole yourself. Balance means understanding your limits and honoring them. It means knowing when to say yes and when to say no. Sometimes, the most compassionate act you can offer is to pause. You may think that stopping to take care of yourself is selfish, but it is actually an act of preservation. Imagine a candle that burns constantly, giving light to others but never resting. Eventually, that flame fades, leaving only smoke behind. Yet, if that same candle is protected from the wind, allowed to rest, it can shine for much longer. You are that candle. Your peace is your flame. There will be moments when people demand more of you. Your time, your energy, your attention. They may not mean harm, but they may forget that you are human too. It's easy to get caught in the pattern of always saying yes, because you don't want to disappoint anyone. But the truth is, every time you say yes to others, while saying no to yourself, a part of your peace slips away. You start to lose connection with your inner calm. You start to feel tired, emotionally heavy, and unfulfilled. That is the moment to pause and remind yourself that your needs matter too. Buddhist wisdom teaches that compassion begins with oneself. To care for others, you must first learn to care for the being within you. When you meditate, when you sit in silence, when you breathe deeply, you are not escaping from the world. You are returning to your center. From that place of peace, your compassion becomes effortless, pure, and powerful. You begin to give without resentment, help without exhaustion, and love without losing yourself. Balance is not something you find once and keep forever. It is something you must practice every day. It is in the way you speak to yourself, in the way you rest, and in the way you allow yourself to receive kindness too. Sometimes, helping others means simply listening, and sometimes it means stepping back to heal yourself. You cannot always carry everyone. Sometimes the best thing you can do for them is to stand still, grounded, and peaceful, so they can learn from your calmness. When you find this balance between compassion and self-care, you will notice a shift. Your heart feels lighter, your presence stronger, your kindness more genuine. You stop helping out of guilt or obligation and start helping from love. You no longer feel drained after giving. Instead, you feel fulfilled. That is the beauty of balanced compassion. It nurtures you as it nurtures others. It teaches you that the best version of you, the one that can truly uplift the world, is the one that knows how to care for both others and yourself equally. Balance is the quiet truth behind genuine compassion. It's the understanding that caring for others doesn't mean forgetting yourself. So often, people believe that to be kind, they must constantly give, sacrifice, and say yes to every request. But when you do that without taking time to replenish your own heart, your kindness turns into exhaustion. True compassion doesn't come from depletion. It flows naturally from a calm and cared for mind. You can't bring light to others if your own flame is fading. Helping others is beautiful, but it must come from a place of peace, not pressure. When you ignore your own needs to please others, you begin to lose your sense of self. You stop hearing your own voice. because it gets buried under the noise of everyone else's needs. Balance is the act of remembering that your life matters too, your energy matters too, and your peace is sacred. When you care for yourself, you're not being selfish. You're protecting the source of your strength. Think of yourself like a tree. A tree gives shade, fruit, and shelter to many, but only because its roots are strong and nourished. If those roots dry up, the tree can't give anything. You too must nurture your roots, your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, so that you can keep giving without losing your essence. Self-care isn't indulgence. It's maintenance for your soul. Sometimes balance means saying no. Sometimes it means stepping back when your body or heart feels tired. It means trusting that the world won't collapse if you take time to breathe. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to care for your own healing. Because when you return to yourself, you come back with clarity, patience, and deeper understanding. Balance teaches you to give freely but wisely. You learn that real compassion is not about giving everything away. It's about giving from fullness. When you act from balance, your energy becomes healing rather than heavy. You start to help others not out of guilt, but out of love. And in that space, kindness becomes effortless, and helping others becomes joyful again. Because you've learned the most important truth. Your peace and their peace are connected. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and yet so many try. They keep giving, helping, supporting, until one day they wake up feeling drained and disconnected from themselves. This happens because they've forgotten that energy, like water, must be replenished to keep flowing. When your cup is empty, when your peace, your patience, and your joy are gone, you can't truly offer anything meaningful to others. You might still go through the motions of helping, but inside, you're exhausted. The act no longer comes from love, it comes from obligation or habit. And when kindness becomes a burden, it stops being kind. Filling your cup isn't selfish, it's essential. It means taking time to do what restores your soul. It's the quiet walk at dawn, the deep breath before a long day, the moment of stillness where you simply exist. It's letting yourself rest without guilt, knowing that this rest is what gives your compassion power. You can't be patient with others if you're always tired. You can't bring peace if your own heart is restless. The energy you give out is the energy you live in. If you constantly give from emptiness, you spread emptiness too. But when you give from fullness, your presence becomes healing. The wisdom of inner peace teaches us that everything begins within. When you nurture your own heart, you naturally radiate that peace to others. It's like a lamp. When it's charged, it can light up the whole room. But if the battery dies, the light fades, no matter how much you want it to shine. In the same way, your kindness is sustained only by your connection to yourself. That's why it's so important to pause, to breathe, and to check in with your feelings before you give to others. Ask yourself, am I giving because I want to, or because I feel I have to? Am I helping from love, or from fear of being unloved? Those questions remind you to act consciously, not compulsively. When you take care of your mind and body, You are not ignoring others. You are ensuring that what you give them comes from authenticity. Meditation, prayer, quiet reflection, or simply spending time in nature, these are ways of filling your cup. They remind you that peace doesn't come from doing more, it comes from being more aware. The more connected you are to yourself, the more clarity you have in knowing when to give, when to stop, and when to rest. There will always be people who need you, situations that demand your energy, and causes that tug at your heart. But remember, even the ocean has tides. It gives and then it pulls back to refill itself. That rhythm is nature's way of maintaining balance. You too must honor your tides. When you feel depleted, step back without guilt. When you feel full again, share your light freely. The people you truly help will understand this, because they will see that your energy is real, not forced. Giving from an empty heart creates resentment. Giving from a full heart creates joy. The difference between the two is the care you give yourself. When you rest, when you breathe, when you allow yourself moments of silence and gratitude, you are not stepping away from compassion. You are deepening it. Because real compassion starts with yourself. The more you care for your own heart, the more naturally your kindness flows. It becomes effortless, pure, and sustainable. And that is how you continue to lift others. By first keeping your own cup full. By making your peace the foundation from which all your giving begins. Boundaries are not walls. They are the lines that protect your peace, your time, and your energy. Many people confuse setting boundaries with being unkind or selfish, but it is quite the opposite. Boundaries are acts of wisdom. They are the invisible guards that allow your compassion to stay strong and healthy. Without them, you give too much, absorb too much, and slowly begin to lose yourself in the process of helping others. When you say yes to everything and everyone, you silently say no to your own needs. Over time, that imbalance turns your kindness into exhaustion, your giving into resentment. To live with a kind heart doesn't mean to be available at every moment. It means to know when your spirit needs space. It's understanding that your well-being is not negotiable, even when someone else doesn't understand it. There will be people who take your kindness as permission to drain your energy. They may ask for your help repeatedly, without ever taking responsibility for their own actions. They may make you feel guilty for saying no, but you must remember that compassion without boundaries is self-destruction. You can care deeply for someone and still choose to step back when your peace is at risk. Setting boundaries is an expression of self-respect. It's the ability to say, I care for you, but I must also care for myself. When you protect your energy, you are not pushing people away. You are preserving your ability to love them clearly and without resentment. Imagine a garden surrounded by a gentle fence. The fence doesn't block the sunlight or stop the flowers from blooming. It simply keeps the garden safe from being trampled. Your boundaries serve the same purpose. They protect your inner peace so that your kindness can continue to grow. It takes courage to create boundaries, especially when you fear disappointing others. But when you allow guilt to dictate your choices, you betray yourself. Every time you say yes when you mean no, a small part of your authenticity fades. You start to live not for yourself, but for the comfort of others. And when that happens, you lose connection with your truth. Saying no, on the other hand, is not rejection. It's redirection. It's a way of honoring what your soul needs to stay balanced. Buddhist teachings remind us that wisdom and compassion must walk together. Compassion without wisdom becomes weakness. Wisdom without compassion becomes coldness. Boundaries are the bridge between the two. They allow you to love without losing yourself, to help without feeling used, to give without being drained. When you know where your limits lie, you can offer genuine help rather than forced support. You no longer act out of obligation or guilt, but from a place of inner calm. There will be people who don't understand your limits, who call you selfish or distant. But that's because they benefited from your lack of boundaries before. Don't let their discomfort stop you from protecting your peace. Those who truly respect you will honor your space, because they know your energy is sacred. When you live with healthy boundaries, your kindness becomes sustainable. You give not because you have to, but because you want to. Your relationships become more authentic, your mind more peaceful, and your heart lighter. You begin to realize that saying no is sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for others. Because when your energy is protected, your compassion shines brighter, stronger, and purer than ever. Detach from the illusion of responsibility and understand that you are not here to fix everyone's pain. So often, people carry the weight of others' struggles on their shoulders, believing that if they just try harder, love deeper, or give more, they can heal someone's brokenness. But this illusion leads only to exhaustion and disappointment. Every soul has its own journey, its own lessons to learn, and its own timing to awaken. You can guide, support, and offer kindness, but you cannot walk someone else's path for them. Trying to do so only pulls you away from your own growth. It is easy to mistake compassion for responsibility. When you care deeply, you naturally want to protect people from suffering. But sometimes, in trying to shield them, you take away the very experiences that are meant to help them grow. Pain, loss, and struggle are all part of the process of awakening. When you interfere too much, you prevent others from discovering their own strength. Real compassion is not about saving people. It's about standing beside them while they learn to save themselves. It's about trusting that they have the wisdom within them to rise. Detachment does not mean indifference. It doesn't mean turning your back on others. It means loving without control, caring without attachment to outcomes, and helping without losing your inner peace. You can offer a hand, but you must also know when to let go. If you try to control how others heal or live, you create suffering for yourself. Letting go allows life to flow naturally, teaching both you and them valuable lessons about acceptance and resilience. When you release the illusion that you are responsible for everyone, a great sense of freedom enters your heart. You begin to realize that your duty is not to carry others, but to walk beside them with love and understanding. You begin to focus on your own journey, your own growth, and your own light. In doing so, you inspire others not by fixing them, but by showing them what peace looks like. The greatest help you can offer anyone is the example of a calm, centered, and loving presence that doesn't lose itself in the process of helping others. Return to stillness regularly, because it is in stillness that you rediscover who you truly are. The world moves fast, and in the rush to help others, to meet responsibilities, and to please everyone, your inner voice often gets drowned in noise. Stillness is where you reconnect with that voice. It's where the heart and mind find rest from the constant motion of life. When you slow down, you give yourself space to breathe, to reflect, and to heal. Just as a lake only reflects the sky clearly when it is calm, your mind can only see truth when it is still. Taking time to be alone is not isolation, it is restoration. Solitude allows you to release the emotions and energy you may have absorbed from others. When you help people, you often take in their sadness, their struggles, and their worries without realizing it. Over time, that emotional weight can cloud your peace. Moments of stillness cleans you from that heaviness. Whether through meditation, prayer, deep breathing, or sitting silently under a tree, you create a space for your spirit to reset. In that silence, you start to feel light again. The practice of stillness teaches you to listen, not just to the world around you, but to your own needs. You start to notice when your energy feels low, when your heart feels tight, or when your mind is cluttered. This awareness is the beginning of healing. You learn that peace doesn't come from running after it. It comes from allowing it. The more you return to stillness, the more grounded you become, and the less the chaos of the world can disturb you. Returning to stillness is also an act of humility. It reminds you that you don't have to fix everything or carry everyone's burdens. You begin to trust that things will unfold as they should. In that quiet awareness, compassion becomes effortless because it flows from balance, not from effort. When you rise from stillness, you are no longer reacting. You are responding with clarity and calm. Your energy feels pure, your thoughts are centered, and your heart is open once again. That is the quiet power of stillness. It helps you remember your peace, so you can share it with the world. Help from wholeness, not emptiness, because true compassion only flows when your heart is full and steady. When you are whole, your actions come from love, not from guilt or obligation. You give because you genuinely want to, not because you feel you must. Wholeness is that inner state where your mind is calm, your emotions balanced, and your intentions pure. It's the place where you understand that helping others should never mean losing your center. When your heart is whole, your kindness becomes a gift that nourishes both you and those around you. When you help others from emptiness, your energy becomes scattered and heavy. You might start to feel unseen, unappreciated, or emotionally drained. That's because you are giving from a place of lack, rather than abundance. You begin to expect something in return: gratitude, recognition, or love, to refill what you've given away. But no one can fill that emptiness for you. Only self-awareness and inner care can. When you tend to your own spirit first, you discover that you don't need validation from others. Your peace becomes self-sustaining. From that space, every act of giving feels light, natural, and effortless. Wholeness means accepting all parts of yourself, the strong and the weak, the joyful and the broken. You no longer run from your own pain, but hold it gently until it heals. This acceptance makes your compassion more powerful, because you begin to understand the pain of others without drowning in it. You listen with empathy, but you don't lose your peace in their chaos. You help because you choose to, not because you're trying to prove your worth. Helping from wholeness also means being honest about your limits. You know when to give, when to rest, and when to step back. You realize that your energy has value, and that protecting it allows you to keep helping longer and more meaningfully. When you are whole, your presence itself becomes healing. People feel calm around you, not because of what you do, but because of the peace you carry within. That is the quiet strength of a whole heart. It doesn't need to fix or control. It simply shines, and through that light, others find the courage to heal themselves. Thanks for watching.